Well, hello and a very warm welcome to Daily Dispatch, a show that gives you all the latest news and updates from the digital ecosystem. I'm Priya Sheth. Thank you so much for logging in. Time now to get you all the top news stories that we've been tracking today. Well, the union budget is just around the corner, and startups are seeking more reforms that will help improve the ease of doing business as well as improve the domestic capital participation. They're also seeking benefits around ESOP taxation, the removal of the IMB certification, and also clear IPO guidelines. Well, moving on to the second headline of the day, B2B e-commerce platform for pharmacy Savio Health Tech has raised $4 million in seed funding led by Matrix Partners in India and RTP Global. The health startup will be using these funds to penetrate deeper into existing geographies and expand to new territories. It's also looking to upscale its full stack tech platform. Well, amid concerns around WhatsApp's controversial privacy policy, WhatsApp has issued a clarification saying that WhatsApp's UPI based payment service is subject to a separate WhatsApp India payments privacy policy, and this is not impacted by the terms of service for the messaging app. Well, moving on to the final headline of the day, Ula, an e-commerce marketplace for investors in Indonesia, has raised $20 million. This is led by Kona Capital as well as B Capital Group. Existing investors including Lightspeed India and Sequoia Capital India have also participated in this funding round. Now, funds will be used to expand geographical footprint, expand its products and services portfolio, and move into new categories. Well, moving on to our second segment, we have with us a very special guest who's a marketer, he's an investor, and an entrepreneur. I have with me Mr. Kabir Kochar from Anthill Ventures. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Daily Dispatch. I want to begin by asking you about your journey. How has the transition happened from an entrepreneur to an investor?
Thanks, Priya, for having me. I'm going to try to keep it short because that's a long discussion over many, many drinks, I think, and a lot of heartache and a lot of good things coming up there. But I think broadly, I was born and brought up in Delhi, and I went to New York and I went to NYU at Stern, and I was lucky enough that when I graduated to not really know what I wanted to do, so I fell upon an opportunity as a digital media planner. Which was basically strategizing and allocating budgets for brands online. And that did not exist. The whole role did not exist at the time. So that really helped me build a very strong foundation. And I did that at a very young age, was exposed to and spending budgets and giving marketing strategies for a lot of global companies. So that kind of led to a few more things. And I'll kind of gloss over a couple of those things. The first was when I came back to India, was a venture in the marketing and the production side of things. Wanted to actually make a TV show. Didn't scale up so well, but so it was about flat. The second venture was the epic failure, as they say, which was an online food ordering portal, similar to what Zomato and Swiggy do now. But I'd like to say it's a little ahead of its time. So lots of lessons learned. Obviously, when you fail, everyone tells you it's the best learning experience and whatnot. But it is the best learning experience in retrospect. See, when you're actually suffering, it's no real help, right? So the next venture I joined as a partner, and I set up a company called The Glitch, which was an ad agency, which I had seen the trends in the US also about money moving from digital to online, from offline to online, and the same thing was happening in India around then also. So we grew that with our partners, and about 2 years ago, we sold that to WPP. And, so it was a bit of the earn out period. So through this whole progress and through this process, being an entrepreneur, understood the pains of running a business and building a business. So was able to really, be able to deploy small checks as an angel investor in companies over the last decade or so. And just organically, it kept growing. The check size kept growing, got a few exits. But more than the money, what was really important was everyone always asked me, okay, can you please help us with marketing and scaling strategies? And while I was with the agency, it was not so easy to do because the economic models just didn't really align so much with startups because, typically an agency's job is to make as much money from the clients as possible, right? And a startup doesn't have that money. So I was able to do that on a pro bono basis. And in doing that, like I said, I started doing more syndicate deals, investing with people and whatnot. And then Anthill happened, of course. And it's funny because Prasad, the founder of Anthill, keeps talking about how this was the first time he or I have done anything in lockdown. So Prasad and I did not meet until 2 months ago. So I came on board as Anthill as a partner, heading the consumer and media division, looking after the Urban Eye program, which is and I'll get a little bit more to that. Urban Eye, which is a consumer-based program where Rana Daggubati is also a partner, and the Anthill Studio, which is the media side of things. So that's the quick journey, but more obviously later.
Well, so you spoke about your journey from being an entrepreneur to an investor. Over the last couple of months, there's been a lockdown. People have been, while some people say it's a really bad time to raise money because there isn't any money out there. As an investor, from your perspective, how has the last 9 months been?
Obviously, I want to be sensitive when I say this because many people have had not a great time right now. But from both our portfolio companies as well as companies I'm looking at, it's been a good time in that sense. The growth has been incredible. So the India fund, which I look after, is a $10.5 million fund, which is focused on consumer, on media, and enablement of consumer, which basically means any technologies or service or products which help grow the ecosystem better. And we've done some really good investments in that space. But what I can say is that in the media space, consumption has gone through the roof because people have been sitting at home with having much to do. But obviously, the media investment's a different problem because now all investors are asking for monetization. You may have 100 million users, but where is the monetization, right? And on the consumer space, people have been almost coerced into using products and using the digital as a transaction medium. Because for the first 3 months of the lockdown, you couldn't really go out to a store and buy something, but you still needed your deodorant, you needed your face wash, you needed what else, your clothes, right? So that led to a big surge. So we've seen companies across the board grow anywhere from 2x, 3x, 10x in the lockdown, and enablement mediums such as Facebook and ShipRocket and Shopify have just made it a lot easier for people to even launch brands. So we're also seeing is a lot of, say, manufacturers looking at D2C now as a way of reaching out to customers.
So as an investor, if I may ask, what is your feedback in terms of, do you think that this is the good time to invest into new businesses, or are valuations too high considering that growth for consumer companies has really hit the roof?
Yeah, so I think, look, everything is a factor of demand and supply, right? So currently, there's a lot of money in the market. I'm not going to deny that from an investor's perspective. And that's also because the venture capital ecosystem has seen a huge boom over the last 5-7 years. And we're still in cycle 2.5 of the Indian ecosystem. So there are a lot of good companies out there which need a lot of funding, but there are a lot of companies which may not succeed also. So there's a lot of money chasing because this money has been already banked before COVID started. So that money is there. The startups are very much there. So obviously, sometimes I feel that the valuations do go up a little bit because of the extra froth which is in the market. But having said that, I think the good thing about consumer brands is everything is easily measurable. So you can see that, okay, you know what, if this company hits, say, this many recurring customers and this much annual run rate of their revenues, that okay, we can predict that the valuation will be this much. So it's relatively formulaic, so they achieve the growth and then they get funded according to that growth. So it's relatively at least in line with that. But the interesting thing is, at least in the consumer space, there are a lot of companies which have been existing already, great companies like Fireside, Sama, DSG, which do Series A and whatnot. But there's very much and on the other side, there are angel investors who get consumer, but there's a big gap between the angels and the Series A rounds. And that's where we kind of come in as a fund. But yeah.
Well, talk to us about some investment themes of 2021. What do you think would be the sunrise sectors? Will consumer continue to be a hot sector that you will continue to bet on? And if you could just run us through some key investment themes.
Sure. So I can talk about this on two levels. One is on the things I look at, right, which is media and consumer and enablement. And the other is on a more macro sense. But let me start with a bit more of a macro sense, and then I'll go into specifically within consumer where I see the value coming up. So one is medtech. There's so much scope in that, and it's a whole nother world out there. The other thing is in urban urban technologies, things which help cities get better, smarter. So, we're seeing EV as an enabler for a lot of other businesses. So not EV as a whole, because, it's a very, very capital intensive business. So there will be, of course, some excellent companies coming up there, but, as an enabler for other services. Think of EV in logistics, think of EV in home automation and those kind of things. The other interesting things is, I think would be neobanks as a sub-segment of fintech. You'll see a lot more of that coming up, and it's going to be a kind of a rat race over this year to see who kind of like takes the big position there. And basis everything happening over the last couple of days with Robinhood and whatnot in the US, you can see that when Robinhood was shut down because of extra volume of trade and whatnot, there is suddenly a renewed focus on decentralization. Why should all the power be centralized in one area? Who can anyway turn the lights off, right? So I think it's harder one to really invest in because it's a very much a 0-1 game, but a very interesting trend coming up. In consumer specifically, I think I'm looking at some really good companies in personal hygiene, specifically women hygiene. And I'm not talking about sanitary pads. I'm talking about beyond that. I'm talking about period care and obviously things which are going up that ladder, because it's been a relatively taboo subject up till now and people haven't spoken much about it. And finally, because of the anonymity of digital, it allows people to actually reach out. So the demand will determine what people are using. So that's one aspect. What else? In men's care also is a good one. We've seen the Beardos of the world or whatnot, but now we're seeing certain more niches in that space grow. Apparel is a challenging one, but in that also, newer technologies, new things like just-in-time production are allowing things, and influencers. How, as much as we, I don't love influencers, but I think they add a lot of value to the ecosystem, and enabling them to really monetize their own value versus endorsing other brands is a good thing. So in that regard, social commerce is the one I'm going to bet big on. And we've seen just the sparks of a couple of companies which have raised larger rounds, but there are a lot of guys emerging right now, and enabling these guys to see any company which helps make other people money is always going to be useful.
We have the budget around the corner. Wanted to understand from the startup ecosystem and from the investor ecosystem, what would be your key demands or expectations?
I think the government has done a fairly good job of allowing entrepreneurs to grow. I think ease of business is the number one thing. Anything that can lead. So we can't predict what's going to happen in the budget as much as we may want to, but anything that enables ease of business for startups is definitely a good. And also, we hear about these funds, government-sponsored funds, which will invest in companies. So getting that information out there better, and enabling it to go lower to the smallest. So checks as small as maybe 5 lakhs, because that's where you'll see the benefit of people being able to at least start something, give them that energy to start something, and then obviously angel investors and the overall investor ecosystem comes in. As an investor, I'm okay as of now. I think let's status quo is good enough for me.
Well, on that note, many thanks for joining us. It's really been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for being a part of Daily Dispatch.
Well, time now to say goodbye. Many thanks for tuning in for this very special show of the Daily Dispatch. I'll see you on Monday, that's 1st of February, when the Union Budget will be presented, and we'll take you through all the latest news and updates from that space. Till then, goodbye and have a lovely weekend.